Good morning, everybody. I imagine that on this incredible, rainy, beautiful deluge of a morning, that you are happy that we are live streaming and you can sit comfy and cozy at home and still we can be together. So, one of the silver linings of the storms that we're living amidst is this moment on so many levels. It's great to have you with us. I'm Vanessa Southern. I'm the senior minister of the First Unitarian Universalist Society of San Francisco. If you are a visitor and you are with us for the first time this morning, if you are a member of the Church of the Fellowship of All Peoples joining us this morning, so lovely to have you with us. So lovely to have you with us here this morning. And in particular, it is so lovely to have with me, leading us in worship this morning, the Reverend Dr. Dorsey Blake. The congregation that he has served since 1994 is one that this congregation has had a relationship with since even before its founding in 1944. And it feels to me like this family connection, this inheritance that Dorsey and I have stepped into as the newest members of that family, and that we hopefully will hand on and that we are nurturing.
Actually, the inaugural service for the Church for the Fellowship of All Peoples was held here.
Dorsey is telling me that the inaugural service for his congregation, the one he serves, the Church of the Fellowship for All Peoples, was held here. And so was the founding minister's memorial service, right?
Yes, Dr. Thurman's memorial service.
Dr. Thurman's memorial service. So wonderful. And it was earlier this year that we had one of our rallies, our important rallies, and Dr. Blake joined us on the steps and spoke. And it was just this reminder that this invitation that had been on our list needed to be bumped up. And so we are so glad to finally make it real here this morning.
Thank you.
Your connection to Unitarian Universalism through the Star King School also.
For the ministry, yes.
So he has shaped ministers in our movement. Anyway, it is fantastic to be here. And today we are looking with his guidance at the soul of America, which is a big and open question and has been this year and continues to be one we need to grasp and wrestle with as a community. And so it's a blessing to have you with us. And I want to thank everyone else who's making this service today possible. First of all, incredible musicians, Reiko Odelaine up in the organ loft, bringing us into worship with that incredible opening music and preludes. Mark Sumner, our music director, who is off in another wing, along with Leandra Ram, Brielle Nielsen, Ben Rudiak Gould, and Asher Davison, making music in ways that we are learning how to make differently. And Miwa Steger, here with us, in her galoshes, you might notice, given the day and the situation in worship these days. So it is lovely to have all of them. Jonathan Silk, who is our communications commander, Eric Shackelford on camera, and Shuli Ong, too, making this possible. Joe Chapeau is on our chat. If you have any questions, ask on the chat, and he will do his best to help you get and stay connected. Thomas Brown, who welcomes us into the building and makes sure it is ready for us. To Carrie Steer, Salazar, Judy Payne, and Amy, who have made the incredible decorations possible for here. The poinsettias that many of you donated and are continuing to reach out about donating. Thank you all for making this place beautiful. So, if you are here for the first time, again, welcome. You might look for the order of service to download it so you can follow along. We have a few candles to light this morning. First, as we have been lighting since the beginning of the pandemic times, we light a candle in honor of the spirit of all of you who are with us, not here in body right now, but definitely in spirit. And we light it until that day that we can all be back together again. But this Sunday, being the day that will end with the fourth night of Hanukkah, we light our menorah for all of our members and friends for whom Hanukkah is a part of their sacred tradition, their family, heritage. We light it for the 3 nights that have so passed, and bless and send blessings to everyone as they celebrate this holiday with their families and at home. And so with that, I invite us to enter more deeply into the spirit of worship with our opening hymn. The music and the words are in your order of service. It is hymn number 121, We'll Build a Land. Please sing out loud and strong.
Once faint and once weak, where like oaks
now I invite you to say with me the words of our chalice lighting. They are printed in your order of service. We light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the fire of commitment. We light this symbol of our faith as we gather together. Again, if you are joining us for the first time, I would invite you to download the order of service, which hopefully you can find a quick link to on our website, or maybe even posted near the chat where you can see it, or down below. And I just wanted to hold out for you some events, the ones that are coming up or that you need to mark on your calendar, so that they rise up to your attention, but you are free to sign up and participate in anything and everything that catches your eye or speaks to your heart. So first, I wanted to let you all know that right after service, we will have our Zoom coffee hour with Alex Darr there to greet you and guide you. So just look for the Zoom link for that. And this week's is a special coffee hour with icebreakers and a lot of fun opportunities to get connected. So I'd invite you to join. If you haven't before, for sure join. And if you have before, come again. That's right after service. I did want you all to know something that is coming up too, to look out for the annual group art show. Normally this building is festooned with art made possible by our art committee and local artists out in the world that participate. This show, also an annual event for members and friends, is now available virtually due to some hard work and creative thinking, not surprisingly creative thinking from our art committee. It's on our website, on the art committee website. It's the first virtual group show representing 20 artists. And it enjoyed a delightful reception on Friday, December 11th. So I hope that you will take advantage of an opportunity to see that art and enjoy what was created by members and friends of this community. A little virtual outing in these days. I want you to peg your calendars for February 5th. That will be our online auction. A short live auction that evening, a chance to be together and have fun and raise money for good causes for this community and some things it is attempting to make possible. And the silent auction, which will go on from January 29th until February 4th. So put those things both on your calendar. Think also about donations you might make. We have more expansiveness in what we can offer in our silent auction this year. So there are some listed possibilities you might think about in the order of service, but let your mind run free. Next Saturday, I want to make sure you also get on your calendar at 7 p.m. the Pagan Interest Circle and their hosting of the solstice celebration. That opportunity to mark this cycle in our Earth's turnings and seasons in a way that is sacred. So please look and feel free to join in that celebration and honoring. And then next week, Sunday, we will have our attempt at a virtual intergen solstice service here, so join us then too. Finally, today at 1 p.m., I would encourage you, if you're not in a coffee hour mood, or maybe you leave coffee hour a little early at 1 p.m. and join our humanist and non-theist program, which in honor of International Human Rights Day is looking at immigration and human rights, such an important and live issue for us. And we will have with us Dr. Bill Hing and Denise Bell. So fantastic speakers joining us, an amazing program which I hope you will also consider attending and participating in. Our offering this week will be a special one, but I will tell you more about that later in the service. So for now, that concludes our invitations to join in deeper, more connected ways to the life of this congregation. I'd invite us now, as we do every week, to singing together our meditation on breathing. The words are in your order of service. You can listen to the singers if you don't know it, and enter in many of the one of the many parts that are available for you to sing. And then I would invite you to just lose yourself in it as we sing it again and again through. and deepen ourselves into the worship this morning.
When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Join me, if you will, saying our covenant together and then singing our doxology, the words, the music. They're in your order of service. Our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another.
From all that dwell in all the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung through every land, by every tongue. Day told us and console, so esperanza fin amor, verdad belleza cantando, de cada tierra cada
Recognizing there is human suffering all over this world in the course of natural and human catastrophes. We ring our gong this morning in honor of two such places of suffering and struggle. We ring our gong first, as we have since July of 2019, for those lives held and those lives lost in federal custody in our detention camps. For the mounting trauma to children separated from their families, perhaps lost to them. To all people held without charges in less than transparent or humane circumstances in this repeat of some of the most shameful chapters in our nation's, in our world's history, of xenophobia, of racism, of greed. And so we will ring our gong 7 times for this week of days for which we bear responsibility since we have been together last as citizens for wrongs done in our names. We will ring our gong additionally once for the losses to COVID-19. The virus we all know by name, its symptoms we have memorized. This last week, 73,154 people died of COVID-19 globally. 16,577 in the United States alone. We hold in our hearts all of these losses, and also all who continue to risk their lives to provide essential services, who suffer from job loss, hunger, uncertainty of all kinds, whose lives are made vulnerable to the disease, or whose isolation and struggle through grief and loneliness gets harder each week that this pandemic continues. May we keep all those that we have named in our thoughts and in our prayers, and their loved ones too. And may we ease the tide of human suffering this coming week, howsoever we can. I'd invite you to join me now in a time of spoken and silent meditation. Words written by Tamara Labak, a Unitarian Universalist minister. A prayer for America, she calls it. God of many names, you who has endowed us with the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, let us remember this morning that in this country there is no national religion, there is no superior race, there is no preferable gender or orientation. We gather holding a common value that is the glory of this country, that it rests, this nation, first and foremost on the power of its diversity. That out of many ideas, out of many beliefs, Out of many views, out of many voices, out of many passions, out of many experiences, we are one. Help us to forget, Spirit of life, ground of our being. Help us never to forget that we need not be alike to love alike. Help us see and ask for forgiveness this day and all days for our national and individual transgressions when we have chosen inaction or silence in the face of injustice and abuse of power, when we have failed to claim our own power. We ask for forgiveness when we have not known our neighbor, fed our hungry, or equipped our future generation with knowledge and love. We ask for a blessing on this nation according to our own faith and forms, and pledge our voice in moving it closer and closer to liberation. These and others are the prayers of our hearts this morning. Ones which we offer up now in a moment of shared silence. In the names of all who have come before and all those who are yet to be, in the names of all helpers of humankind. Amen.
We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love, to pledge ourselves searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
I want to name Liz Strand and Kathleen Morin, who are co-chairs of our recently reorganized Society for Community Works Council, better known to many of you as SCW. They and other leaders have done so much incredible work this year and in the years past. There are a whole bunch of folks who work behind the scenes every year to make the incredible ministry and outreach of SCW done through it possible. David Jones, Laura Davis, Phil Allison, Thad Smith, Mary Castiglia, Joan Rost, Kathy Lyons, Robin Larson, Ann Taylor, Leslie Bader, and George Mayer, rest his soul, are just some of the names. Some of the names that are part of something that I feel like with everything going on in the world is so worth naming. The good things that happen that don't tweet about it or make a big fuss, but just serve the good and the beautiful and the true and love and equity, quietly, faithfully, ceaselessly. Along with the rest of the world, SCW has been doing a little bit of changing. I just want to give you a brief update. It has a history of being an organization connected to the church, but also with some separate status. But this year, we've really just merged the two. SCW was started by the congregation, so it's fitting that we come back into this more complete relationship. It was started in the 1870s when there was a depression and the need to do some incredible outreach to the homeless and hungry, reach that also extended into the prisons and hospitals then. It's work that continued through the decades after the 1906 earthquake. SCW organized, among other things, small all-day sewing meetings. Actually, they couldn't have been small, but they were all day. And the records show that in the first few weeks after the devastation, over 5,000 garments were distributed to people who had lost everything. Over 1,000 of those sewn in these sewing gatherings by that committee in this congregation alone. There's been an ongoing focus over the years that's really centered on two things: scholarship for students, many of whom could otherwise not attend college, many of whom are first-generation college attendees, mentoring of them through some of what it means to be doing that work in the world, filling out FAFSA forms, if any of you know what those are. And this focus to small groups in the community, nonprofits, many of whom are not on the screen, not on the radar of major funders, but need a little help getting off their knees and serving the ways they dream to in their mission statements. Today, despite what it says in the order of service, we're raising money for the second half of that work, for the sponsorship work, which since 1969 has been an effort that's given away grants from between $500 and $3,000 to 500 local groups, many of which SCW has been the backbone to through their existence. So for instance, the Bay Area Women's and Children's Center in the Tenderloin, it's our longest funded project, 27 years. A group that has done extraordinary things like made sure that an elementary school was built in the Tenderloin for the many, many kids whose parents did not have political voice, did not know how to exercise it, but they got organized and spoke out and now have a school in their neighborhood and playgrounds. That's just one of the organizations that we have been behind with voice and financial support. Faithful Fools, Up on Top got started in the beginning, but also things like Project Avery and Insight Prison Project, both of which support children and families of incarcerated parents or incarcerated populations getting the support they need for some creative endeavors. SCW has also helped this congregation get our solar panels and fostering all kinds of work, plowing our values into the world outside these doors and within them. Well, there's a lot more to say, a lot more I hope you'll hear as we begin to talk more about this work. But I want to invite you today in our offering to give to the sponsorship, the nonprofit work. Later in the year, we will dig deep for scholarships. And when the annual grant report comes out, I want you to see and own and love more deeply than ever what work we have been able to do together. And if you, by the way, want to serve on the grants panel or be part of this work, just see Kathleen or Liz. We would love to have you involved in the work as it grows ever more deeply into serving its mission more boldly in these times that need it more than ever before. And so our offering will be given and received. You'll note a button if you give electronically for a special offering. If you click that button this morning, your money will go towards SCW's sponsorship. Thank you in advance for your generosity. The offering will be given and gratefully received.
To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to try when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable star. This is my quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to march into hell for a heavenly cause. And I know if I'll only be true to this glorious quest, that my heart will lie peaceful and calm when I'm laid to my rest, and the world will be better for this, that one soul scorned and covered with scars still strove with a last ounce of courage to reach the unreachable stars.
Richard Blanco, Cuban-American poet, said that in light of so much political strife and bickering, he wanted to write a poem that captured, quote, my own childlike patriotism. Not my country, right or wrong, not that kind of blind patriotism, but rather a more genuine and gentler patriotism that acknowledges a country's imperfections and trespasses, while also remaining committed to working toward a more perfect union. I listened to him reading it twice, so I'll try and read it just like he does. Know that that explains the choices I make. In this poem, America the Beautiful Again. How I sang, "Oh, beautiful," like a psalm at church with my mother, her Cuban accent scaling up every vowel. Oh, beautiful, yet in perfect pitch, delicate and tuned to the radiant beams of stained glass light. How she taught me to fix my eyes on the crucifix as we sang our thanks to our Savior for this country that saved us. Our voices, hymns as passionate as the organ piping toward the very heavens. How I sang, "For spacious skies," closer to those skies while perched on my father's sun-beat shoulders, towering above our first 4th of July parade. How the timber through our bodies mingled, breathing, singing as one with the brass notes of the marching band playing the only song he ever learned in English. How I dared to sing it at assembly with my teenage voice cracking, "For amber waves of grain," that I'd never seen, nor the purple mountain majesties, but could imagine them in each verse rising from my gut. Every exclamation of praise I belted out until my throat hurt. America, and again, America. How I began to read Nietzsche and doubt God, yet still wished for God to shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood. How I still want to speak, to sing, despite all the truth of our wars and our gunshots ringing louder than our school bells. Our politicians smiling lies at the mic, the deadlock of our divided voices shouting over each other instead of singing together. How I want to sing again, beautiful or not, just to be in harmony, from sea to shining sea, with the only country I know enough to know how to sing for.
Stars lights upon our soul, lights upon our soul, and gives us life.
Compassion is the key to life.
Compassion is the key to give as has been given to you. Renew your soul and go within to find your light. Renew your soul and go within to find your light. The sun gives light to feed the earth. The soul gives love. Soul gives love. The soul gives love.
and stars, lights upon our soul, lights upon our souls, and gives us life.
Compassion is the key to life.
Compassion is the key
To give
as has been given to you.
Renew your soul and go within to find your light. Renew your soul and go within to find your light.
What an awesome privilege it is to be with you this morning, congregation of the First Unitarian Universalist Society of San Francisco. I want to thank Reverend Vanessa Rush Southern for her wonderful, energetic, engaging introduction. Yes, this congregation and the Church for the Fellowship of All Peoples have had relationships over the years, 76 years at least. I want to compliment her on her extraordinary leadership, the depth of her thinking and of her soul, as evidenced by what she has offered us today in terms of meditation, ritual. I also want to compliment her on her leadership beyond the walls of this church. I was very moved this year, in January the 31st, when this church opened its doors for a service in remembrance and appreciation of the great spiritual leader, Ram Dass. And Reverend Southern graciously invited me to partake in the service. What great music we have heard today. What a profound service I have already experienced. And this sanctuary is just awesome. The ambiance exquisite, spiritual, deep, inviting. So it is with great pleasure that I speak to you today. The title of my sermon is The Soul of the Nation, Worth Saving? The title comes from my own wrestling with this notion. I am a member of the National Council of Elders, which was founded some years ago to engage leaders of the 20th century civil rights movement to share what they have learned with young leaders of the 21st century, to promote the theory of nonviolence, to proclaim justice and mercy among the peoples. The question became so real this summer when we learned that many of our young activists across the nation were raising questions even about participating in voting, feeling as though they were really disillusioned, disappointed with the leadership of the Democratic Party, and felt as though it would be the same old capitalistic movement. What was the need to vote? They raised. The idea came to us, and we had several forums to try to talk with them about the need, the imperative to vote. That when evil is so rank, so pervasive, that people have a responsibility to try to stop it. The question has been a question, though, I have raised since my teenage years. The question of the soul of the nation and whether or not it is worth saving. I recall that there are lofty ideals of this nation and yet staggering, obvious, oppressive contradictions to those ideals. The question is, are the contradictions to those ideals so profound, so deep, so pervasive that they nullify the ideals? The first question we must raise is what is meant by the term soul? Soul can be defined as spirit, breath, animation. What is the spirit of the nation? What is alive? What is breathing in it? What is its essence? John Meacham, in his book, The Soul of America, says, philosophically speaking, soul is the vital center, the core, the heart, the essence of life. And many would agree or think that the essence of the soul of this nation is clearly articulated in the Declaration of Independence, which captures the ideals of those founding members of the nation as they broke off from British rule to form this new nation. They declared, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all people are created equal." Actually, it said that all men are created equal. And that is part of the problem. That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Dr. King often referred to those words while addressing the contradictions in the lives of the masses of people in the United States, black and otherwise. The preamble to the Constitution is another source revealing what is considered the soul of the nation, with this emphasis on the general welfare and securing the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, oncoming generations. Yet there is an inherent systemic betrayal of the idealized reality that so many continue to encounter. They think about the near genocide of the native peoples here, the confiscation of land, the broken treaties, the intentionally bringing disease into those people who shepherded, who stewarded this nation for so many years. And some think of the issue of slavery, which by the time the enslaved were emancipated, comprised the largest single asset in America. $3 billion in 1860, more than all the other assets of the country combined. They think of centuries of disenfranchisement of women and poor people, whatever the race. The Chinese Exclusion Act, the herding of Japanese Americans into concentration camps during World War II. They know about the exploitation in Latin America and Africa. And I know you know now of the atrocious treatment of children and their parents trying to come to this country, the vilification of Muslims. So they're disappointed, disillusioned in terms of what is this nation about? What is its soul? Long before Eric Garner, while being suffocated by policing forces, uttered the words, "I can't breathe," people on the edges had uttered that cry for centuries. Now, another idealized concept of the soul of the nation is recorded in Lincoln's 1863 Gettysburg Address, ending with the words, "This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom. The government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth." 37 years later, in 1900, James Weldon Johnson, the great black poet, penned these words regarding the sojourn of black people in this nation, words that became part of the unofficial black national anthem. "Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died." I love the new rendition, "America the Beautiful," again, how profound, how personal, how deeply meaningful. The song, "America the Beautiful," speaks of amber waves of grain, of majestic purple mountains and fruited plains. Indeed, this nation has been blessed ecologically. And because it has been blessed so beautifully, much is required of it. There is a line in the traditional rendition that speaks to me with authenticity. "God, mend thine every flaw." Yes, that should be inscribed in the soul of the nation. The audacity to abort death-dealing ways. And there is a more recent version of this song that is entitled, "Oh, How Beautiful Our Spacious Skies." I will only read second, third, maybe fourth stanzas. "Indigenous and immigrant, our daughters and our sons, oh, may we never rest content till all are truly one. America, America, God grant that we may be a sisterhood and brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful, sincere lament, the wisdom born of tears, the courage called for to repent the bloodshed through the years. America, America, God grant that we may be a nation blessed with none oppressed, true land of liberty. Oh, beautiful, 2 continents and islands in the sea that dream of peace, nonviolence, all people living free. America, America, God grant that we may be a hemisphere where people here all live in harmony." For many, this is the time of Advent, a time of anticipating someone greater than we are to come, anticipating a time more noble than the present, a time of light for our darkness. That something to come is the birth of the child Jesus. But according to biblical accounts, not everybody was joyful about his birth. It is said that Herod, the great king of Judea, ordered the execution of all male children 2 years old or under in the vicinity of Bethlehem, currently occupied, the little town in which Jesus was to be born. This reign of terror is called the Massacre of the Innocents. It is difficult to believe that such a heinous crime could be undertaken just because Herod, paranoid due to his exploitation of people, feared that this child would grow into adulthood and challenge his throne. But it's even more difficult for me to believe that over 2,000 years later, according to UNICEF 2018, approximately 3.1 million children die from undernutrition each year. Hunger and undernutrition contribute to more than half of global child deaths, as undernutrition can make children more vulnerable to illness and exacerbate disease. The massacre of the innocents. And the hunger results from destructive policies against the poor, including those enacted by this nation. Is this the soul of our nation? News about the ministry of Jesus came to John, the one who baptized people, while John was in prison. And he sent his disciples to ask Jesus, "Are you the coming one, or are you the one to come, the one that has been prophesied?" And the response to Jesus is very instructive and very telling to us. He did not say yes or no. He responded, "Go and report to John what you hear and see. The blind see, the lame walk, lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, and the dead are raised." Jesus put the emphasis where it needed to be, on the work being done, the ministry being called forth, the kingdom being unfolded. He was fulfilling the agenda set before him by the prophet Isaiah about the one who was to come. It says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because the Lord has anointed me. He has sent me to bring good news to the oppressed, to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives and release to the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. They shall build up the ancient ruins. They shall raise up the former devastations. They shall repair the ruined cities, the devastations of many generations." One of my favorite hymns during this time of the year is, O come, Emmanuel. O come, God, be with us. Emmanuel, dwell with us. O come, Emmanuel. But often we don't hear these words. And ransom captive Israel. It is about it's not really about dealing with individual souls. It is called to release the nation from its imprisonment, the various forms of imprisonment. And for the nation to be freed from captivity, the people of the nation must be liberated. Dr. Howard Thurman says of Jesus in his book, Jesus and the Disinherited, "Wherever his spirit appears, the oppressed gather fresh courage, for he announced the good news that fear, hypocrisy, hatred, the three hounds of hell that track the trail of the disinherited, need not have dominion over them." So I believe each year that we sing, O come, Emmanuel, and describe Jesus as the Prince of Peace, that the government shall be upon his shoulder, we are encouraged with the biblical story. There is a concern, however, that I have that while singing this, we relieve ourselves of our responsibility to be the coming one, to be the one to come, to embody peace, to make the government a government of, by, and for the people. We must not leave these responsibilities to Jesus. He has been called Lamb of God, not scapegoat of humans. He did what he came to do. Now we must do what we are alive to do. That includes living so that there is no need for demonstrating against demonic laws, against immigrants, laws that enshrine poverty and the various isms, sexism, racism, classism, heterosexism. To live in such a way and take our lives so seriously and let our light so shine that there is no necessity, as there is right now, for a Black Lives Matter. For creation announced at the birth of each of us is unleashed. Last Thursday, December the 10th, some of us gathered for a forum sponsored by Ethics in Tech in commemoration of Human Rights Day, born of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that was signed in December 10th, 1948. December 10th, 1964. Martin Luther King was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. In 1957, he co-founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference with the goal of redeeming the soul of America. He believed that the genius within the soul of America was the right to fight or protest for right. He said in his acceptance speech, "I accept this award today with an abiding faith in America and an audacious faith in the future of mankind. I refuse to accept despair as the final response to the ambiguities of history. I refuse to accept the idea that the isness of man's present nature makes him morally incapable of reaching up for the eternal oughtness that forever confronts him. I refuse to accept the idea that man is mere flotsam and jetsam in the river of life, unable to influence the unfolding events which surround him. I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I believe that wounded justice, lying prostrate on the blood-flowing streets of our nation, can be lifted from the dust of shame to reign supreme among the children of men. And when our days become dreary with low, hovering clouds, and our nights become darker than 1,000 midnights, we will know that we are living in the creative turmoil of a genuine civilization struggling to be born. We hear the words of the Declaration of Independence, the preamble of the Constitution, even the majestic words of the Gettysburg Address. What I want to leave us with is the fact that the soul of this nation is that essence, that breath, that spirit that resides within it, because of the various individuals and freedom movements that have breathed into this nation new life, that have animated it, that have broadened and deepened its understanding of humanity, human dignity, and the common ground of living that we all share. It is the spirit that has impelled those vanguards and advocates of freedom to risk life for a more ethical, just, and compassionate nation. A nation indeed worth saving. And in the words of the great poet June Jordan, we are the ones we have been waiting for to save it. Amen. Our closing hymn is that great hymn of the church, hymn number 119, Once to Every Soul and a Nation. In the awesomeness of this place, surrounded by the all-pervading presence of the holy, our hearts whisper, keep fresh before us the moments of our high resolve, that in good times or tempests, foul weather or fair, when the foe is nameless or familiar, we may not forget that to which our lives are committed. Keep fresh before us the moments of our high resolve. Amen.